I was planning to spend the evening with my friend Greg and watch a baseball game on TV. My wife, Shelley, was working the evening shift at the hospital on Friday as usual. We agreed with Greg last week, knowing that the Astros game would be on TV today. Beer? Greg asked as I settled down on the couch. Certainly. He took 2 bottles, handed me one, and sat down at the other end of the sofa. On the coffee table in front of us were several bags of chips, a jar of French onion dip, and several sandwiches. Did Heather make sandwiches? Yes. She prepared them before going out. Where did she go? On a date. This stunned me for a second, and I decided that he probably meant something else, so I clarified. You mean a bachelorette party? No, she went on a date with a guy from work. I still couldn't believe he was saying exactly what I thought, so I kept asking. So you want to say that she just met with a friend? Maybe he's gay? No, Henry, it's a date. Dinner, maybe dancing or a club. I don't know for sure. Are you serious? Your wife is on a date with another man while you sit here watching the match with me. It suddenly dawned on me. They're going. More likely. This is exactly the point. Look, I know how it sounds, but the fact is that she has a much higher libido than I do, and she likes variety. She goes on dates once or twice a week. They usually have sex, but not always. But she always comes back to me, makes me happy, and I can do what I like. She hates baseball. So you're the type who likes his wife to sleep with others. No, I don't enjoy it. But it makes her happy, and I can live with that. Out of sight, out of mind. She always comes home clean and never shows it off. If I ask, she will always cancel the date, even at the last minute. I come first for her, and when I want intimacy, she gives herself completely to me. It's not for everyone, but it works for us. After that, we changed the topic and tried to focus on the game. I'll admit, I wasn't as excited as usual because I couldn't get Greg's situation out of my head. I would never have thought they lived like this. We weren't particularly close, but our wives, Shelley and Heather, were more friends than he and I were. However, I was surprised that I didn't know anything about it. After the game, I immediately left, still in shock, and decided to go to the bar for a drink, knowing that Shelley wouldn't be home until midnight. I went to a sports bar near my house, ordered a beer, and started watching replays of the games. And suddenly he noticed Heather and her boyfriend in the corner. She looked very comfortable in his company, and then she looked at me and noticed that I was looking at her. Her face immediately turned red, and I realized that she was going to come over and try to explain herself. I just sat and waited, and sure enough, a minute later she was already there. Hello, Henry. Heather, I thought you were with Greg today. Just left. Thanks for the sandwiches, by the way. Please. Look, I know you saw me with Tom, and I don't want you to get the wrong idea. He is my client, and communication is part of the job. Greg knows everything. It's okay, Heather. Greg told everything. What exactly did he tell you? All. That you date other men because you have a high libido and love variety, and Greg doesn't mind. Did he tell you this? Are you surprised? Yes. We don't talk too much about it. It's strange that he even told you. I don't know what to say. He spoke about it so calmly that at first I thought he was joking. Does this bother you? Well, I couldn't do that. I find the idea of sharing Shelley with someone else disgusting. But if you are satisfied with this, then the main thing is that you are happy. A look of relief appeared on Heather's face. She seemed about to say something, but instead she simply said, "Thank you for your understanding, Henry. Okay, I'll go back to my desk." I nodded and went back to my beer. I said I understood, but I really didn't understand. I couldn't. It's probably just a matter of worldview. For me, love and sex were inextricably linked, although I knew that for some, sex was just fun. Fortunately, Shelley, I thought, was of the same opinion. Until I noticed in the mirror that Heather paused, wondering what to do next. Her boyfriend also looked at her in bewilderment. I felt embarrassed that I was disturbing their evening, although he invited a married woman, so I didn't have much respect for him. Finally, Heather made up her mind and walked back to me. Henry, I need to tell you something. Cold. It's complicated, but I'll just say it. Shelley is cheating on you. I instantly boiled over. My first thought was that there was no way I was going to let someone talk about Shelley like that. That's a blatant lie, Heather. I can't believe you decided to do such a nasty thing after I was sympathetic to your. I paused to avoid saying something offensive and sat down again. I, of course, was not going to raise my hand against a woman. Henry, I'm very sorry, but it's true. This has been going on for several months now. I was silent because I thought that you and her had the same agreement as Greg and I, and it was none of my business. But after what you said, I realized that you don't know anything. You were so understanding towards me and Greg that I decided I had to tell you. Okay, let's assume you're not lying. What exactly is happening? You play poker a couple of times a month, don't you? Yes, every first and third Tuesday. And Shelley is visiting her sister at this time. She's actually dating her ex from college. Now I know for sure that you are mistaken. I always call her in the middle of the game and talk to her sister. They are always together. Is it true? Who do you think is doing this right on the bed next to them? Her sister's husband also plays poker with you, right? Yes, he plays. But she and Bill have two small children. What? She usually sends the children to the neighbors while they have fun. I'm so sorry, Henry. I hoped you knew about this and were okay with it. I can't. I can't believe it. I thought she loved me. I know it's hard for you to believe this, but one does not exclude the other. I love Greg, although I date other men. But he knows, and she does it behind my back. I'm sorry, Henry, I really am. Are you okay? For now, yes. Thank you, Heather. She slowly walked back to her desk and her date. I noticed in the mirror how she looked back at me with a sad expression on her face and then explained something to her companion, clearly telling him about our conversation. That night, I did everything I could to be in bed and asleep before Shelley got home. Usually that was the case, but this time I wanted to make sure she didn't see that anything was wrong. Of course, now I began to wonder what if she does something after work when she returns home late. Suspicion is a terrible thing. I spent the weekend doing things around the house, mostly avoiding Shelley, but trying to do it without her noticing. I think I succeeded, but she still insisted on dinner and dancing on Saturday night. I admit I had a great time. She was incredibly attentive. This made me doubt Heather's words. When we got home, Shelley wanted intimacy, and I couldn't resist. We had a wonderful night. I loved her with all my heart and continued to hope that Heather was wrong. But that didn't stop me from trying to find out the truth. As Heather noted, you can love your husband and still cheat on him. But I was determined to find out for sure. When Tuesday arrived, I was going to the poker game as usual, but instead of going there, I went to a diner and waited. I called my friends, telling them I wouldn't be coming today, so they wouldn't worry and call Shelley asking for me. I was lucky I didn't have to follow her. I assumed Heather wasn't mistaken and Shelley was just spending the evening at Donna's house. All I had to do was wait until it was dark and investigate. I knew Bill and Donna's house very well, their layout and the fact that they closed the curtains facing the street, but those in the bedroom that overlooked the backyard were always left open, and the gate to the yard was not locked. Total darkness fell around 9 o'clock, and I parked around the corner, making sure Shelley's car was in the driveway. I walked along the sidewalk, looking around for curious neighbors. Not seeing anyone, I quickly walked to the gate and found myself in the backyard in a matter of seconds. There was practically no light in this part of the house, so I doubted that anyone would have noticed me. My heart was pounding, mostly due to the tension of the moment. I was scared to death that I was about to find out something that would ruin my marriage. I loved Shelley, but I couldn't come to terms with this. If she was there with anyone other than her sister, it was all over for us. And I couldn't stop thinking about poor Bill. Will I ruin his life too? I sat in the corner of the yard, trying to muster up. It's hard to say that it was courage, but perhaps that's what you could call it. For a moment, I wondered if I really wanted to know the truth. That is it really hurting me? But it was only a fleeting thought. Even if I could convince myself that her cheating wasn't hurting me, the deception and lack of respect on her part was something I couldn't live with. I slowly crawled towards the light that was coming from the bedroom. The first thing I noticed was that the blinds were open, as usual. Again, part of me hoped that I wouldn't be able to confirm what was happening, but that wasn't the case. Finally, I found myself right in front of the window, and at that moment my marriage ended. There was no doubt that it was her. She was turned straight towards the window. She was practically naked and was on the bed next to a man who was lying on his back. There was no doubt that something very personal was happening between them. It also upset me that Donna was there with them. She was also half naked and was in the company of another man. I had never seen Donna like this before, and I must admit that her figure was quite eye-catching. Her shape was more rounded than Shelley's, which gave her a special charm. I took out my phone and started taking photos and videos of what was happening. Shelley and I were no doubt over it, but I hoped to convince Bill without showing evidence. I was afraid that after this he would not be able to rebuild his life, and he has a family, but I had proof in case I needed it. The only thing that was inconvenient was that I couldn't hear what they were saying. However, from the looks of it, it was just a naughty sex party. They had fun, laughed, and had sex. That's all that was part of their evening. I watched for about 20 minutes when, to my surprise, they switched places. The guy who had been straddled earlier by Shelley was now on top of Donna, and the one behind Donna assumed the same position for Shelley. Heck, they even switched partners while cheating. Of course, this was further proof that this had nothing to do with love or plans to leave their families. This did not make the situation acceptable, but it did clarify its essence. I planned to just collect the evidence and leave, but I couldn't resist the temptation. I took out my phone and pressed #1 on speed dial. I watched as Shelley's phone screen lit up and presumably started ringing. She said something and the man behind her pulled out, allowing her to turn over and take the phone. "Hello, honey, how's the game?" It disgusted me to see her go back to the same position and the man start having sex with her again while she greeted me. God, she has no respect for me at all. Not bad, but it looks like I'll lose today. Although I think Bill might be even less lucky. It's okay, dear. The evening is not over yet, and even if you lose, you are just giving away the money you won earlier. And remind Bill not to lose too much. He has children after all. Only he needs to remember that he has children, I thought. Certainly. What are you girls doing? Oh, we just sit, drink wine, and read Cosmo so that we can be better wives and mistresses. You know how we can talk for hours about all sorts of nonsense. You certainly can. Let me talk to Donna. Shelley handed the phone to Donna, and I again watched a woman having sex with a man while talking to me. At least this time, it wasn't my wife. "Hello, how are things with my beloved brother-in-law? I'm your only brother-in-law. But that doesn't change the fact that you're my favorite. What's happened? I just wanted to ask, is the guy you're sitting on right now Shelley's ex or yours?" The rhythmic movements Donna had been making up to this point suddenly stopped, as if staying still would make a difference. "What? What do you mean?" she asked, barely hiding the panic in her voice. "Well, I didn't know you and Shelley in college, so I don't know your ex-boyfriends." "Just curious who's who," I said, carefully controlling my voice so as not to betray my anger. By this point, both Shelley and the two men had attracted attention. All four of them looked at Donna with expressions like, "What's going on?" "I still don't understand what you mean," she mumbled, trying to stall for time. "Donna, this is not a tricky question. I've been watching you for the last half hour. You both managed to sleep with both guys, so I'm just wondering, is the one you're having sex with right now Shelley's ex or yours? What do you mean, you were watching us?" These words seemed to finally attract Shelley's attention. She quickly turned her attention away from her lover, focusing entirely on Donna's conversation. She leaned closer, trying to catch what I was saying. Well, mostly I was gathering evidence, but unfortunately that included watching my wife and her married sister ruin their marriages. "You should close the blinds." Donna anxiously walked to the window, carefully pulling back the blinds to look outside. Shelley was behind her, moving with equal hesitation. Donna probably already knew what she would see, but she still hoped that it wouldn't be so. She parted the blinds with her fingers and easily found me, standing just a few feet from the window, my face illuminated by the light from my phone screen. "Oh God," she said quietly. "And your punishment for helping my wife cheat on me is that I will tell Bill about your adventures," I said with anger in my voice. "Henry, no," Shelley managed to say, but I had already pressed the end call button and left the same way I came. I imagined how they must have dressed in a panic, the men rushing to escape and the women trying to figure out how to fix the situation. But I was already in the car and rushing away before anyone could leave the house. As expected, my phone started ringing within seconds. It was Shelley's number, but I ignored it. I didn't want to hear her explanation now, although I understood that sooner or later I would have to do it. I was really curious what she would say, but not at this moment. I drove up to Warren's house. Warren was a bachelor who made good money and lived in a big, beautiful house. Therefore, it was he who usually became the host of the games. He even invested in a felt-covered poker table, bought fancy chips, and turned one of the bedrooms into a games room. His sister Maureen lives with him and volunteers to host the poker nights. It's her choice, not ours. I walked in without knocking and Maureen was the first to greet me, even though the guys were in the middle of another game. "Hello, Henry. The guys said that you are not playing today." "I'm not playing," I answered, and, perhaps a little more abruptly than I wanted, I walked around her. "But I had a goal. I need to talk to Bill." She said something, but I was too focused on my task. As I approached the table, I heard a friendly greeting. I walked straight to where Bill was sitting. They were playing Texas Hold'em, and he had an 8 and a jack of spades. "Bill, we need to talk. After this game, okay?" I hesitated for a second. "No, now. This is important. You pass." I took his cards and threw them into the center of the table. Taking the stunned Bill by the hand, I led him to one of the spare bedrooms. "What happened, buddy?" "Sorry, Bill. Look, there's no easy way to say this, so I'll just say it. I'm sorry that I have to do this, but Shelley and Donna are deceiving us." "What?" He almost whispered it. "I have evidence on my phone, but I don't want you to see it. I hope you'll just believe me. Donna, and Shelley too." "With whom?" "With their old friends from college. We don't know them." "How did you know?" "One person who was in the know gave me a tip, and I went to check. I don't want to say who unless it's necessary. The main thing is that it turned out to be true. That's exactly what I did tonight." "What should I do now, Henry? What are you going to do?" He was on the verge of tears. As much as I loved Shelley, I don't think I knew anyone who loved his wife more than Bill loved Donna. I knew it would break his heart, but he had to know the truth. I walked up to him, put my hands on his shoulders, and looked straight into his eyes. "I'm filing for divorce. But listen, you have kids, okay? No one will judge you if you decide to stay and try to make things right." "How could she? Am I that bad?" "It's not about us, Billy. It's about them. Don't let it break you, okay? We'll all be there." "Damn it!" I heard a voice behind me. I turned around and saw Warren. I didn't even hear him come in. "Did you hear everything?" "No, but we will always have his back." "I don't need to know what it's about." I found Shelley and Donna with their old friends from college, and they were clearly not playing board games. That explains the nervous women in my living room. "I can't see her now, Henry." "I have the same feelings. Warren, is there anything you can do to keep them occupied while we head out the back?" "No problem." He turned around and left. I took Bill's hand and led him to the door. He was completely depressed. I was practically dragging him along with me, as if he couldn't get his legs to move. "We'll go out the back door, get into my car, and go to the hotel. I pay for everything." Okay. I opened the door and went out into the corridor. I heard Warren tell the girls, "They're coming now," hoping it would keep them in the other room until Bill and I escaped. We moved as quietly as possible down the hallway, through the kitchen, and out the back door. My car was parked in front of the house, so I had to go around the building. I was afraid that the noise would attract attention, so we got into the car and I started it up and quickly drove off. I hoped it would seem like normal street noise, but I didn't want to risk Shelley or Donna suspecting it was us and giving chase. I made a special trip to the neighboring city, passing by several hotels. I assumed that Shelley and Donna would start looking for us nearby. I wasn't sure what Bill would do next, but I planned to go to the bank first thing in the morning and begin dividing up the property. I didn't see a scenario where I could stay with Shelley and wanted to protect my half of the assets. I tried to talk to Bill, help him understand his feelings, and decide what to do next. Usually a very talkative person, today he was unusually silent, and this alarmed me. His facial expressions when he was lost in thought made me uneasy, but without getting any revelations from him, I simply did everything to make it clear that his friends would be there to support him, no matter what he decided. Then I tried to sleep. When I woke up, I saw that the other bed was empty. A little scared that Bill might have done something stupid, I soon heard the shower running and felt relieved. After canceling our work plans for the day, we got dressed and went to breakfast at a nearby Denny's. Bill finally began to speak, and it was an excruciating mixture of pain, sadness, and anger. How could she do this to us, Henry? How? I don't know, Bill. At some point, we will have to sit down and talk to them. What if she leaves me and takes the children? Then we'll sort it out if it comes to that. But from what I saw, she wasn't in love with that guy. Shelley too, by the way. Are you going to talk to Shelley? Yes, but it won't change anything. We don't have children, so for me the solution is simpler. Are you absolutely sure? Maybe it didn't mean anything. I'm completely sure. What are you going to do? I want to forgive her, but it probably all depends on what she says. Maybe she doesn't need me anymore. Why else would she be with this guy? I decided not to tell him it was both guys. I was afraid that he couldn't stand it. I won't guess, Bill. I think you'll just have to listen to her and then make a decision. We turned on our phones, which we had turned off the night before, and they started beeping continuously for new messages and voicemails. At first, I only had messages from Shelley begging me not to do anything rash and to talk to her, and a couple messages from Donna asking me not to say anything to Bill and promising that it would never happen again. It's too late, ladies. It's too late. There were also several calls from Warren, who kept me up to date. It turns out they heard the sound of my car. Shelley recognized it immediately, but the guys were able to delay them for a couple of minutes, trying to convince them to give us time. They went back to Donna's house to pick up the kids, and I wondered if Shelley stayed there or came home to wait for me. After breakfast, we drove back to Warren to pick up Bill's car. It was almost empty, but as I finished getting Bill into his car, assuring him that everything would work out, I noticed Maureen standing on the porch. She was wearing baggy sweatpants and an oversized t-shirt. A few words about Maureen. She's tiny. She is less than 5 feet tall and weighs less than 100 pounds. She is thin, with small breasts and narrow hips. Therefore, almost everything she wears looks baggy and loose on her. She has long brown hair and is very pretty. At that moment, she was leaning on one of the porch posts. I smiled gloomily at her and approached. Standing on the porch, she was about the same height as me. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Not especially, but I would rather be in my place than in Bill's place. Any idea what he's going to do?" "He says he'll decide after talking to Donna. I think he's more worried about her not wanting him than anything else. He wants to stay, I think, but I'm not sure if that's possible. From what I understood yesterday, Donna desperately wants to keep him. The same can be said about Shelley and you. I think this train has already left for us, but I hope for them. Are you going to listen to what she has to say?" "Certainly. I just can't imagine what she could say to justify it. I think she won't even try to make excuses. Rather, she will explain everything and hope that you will forgive her. We'll see, I guess. It's time for me to go. Let me know if you need anything." I walked back to my car. I was driving home and wasn't sure what I would see or if I was ready for it all. But there was no point in postponing. It wouldn't change or make anything easier. When I arrived at the house, Shelley's car was not there. I assumed she was staying the night at Donna's, but I didn't rule out the possibility that she was seeking solace in the arms of one or both of her previous lovers. Walking into our bedroom, I wondered if she had her fun poker nights there. The same thought came to the guest room. In the end, I decided that since I don't know, I'll have to assume the answer is no. So I packed my things and started moving into the guest room. I was in the middle of moving in when I heard the front door slam open and Shelley started calling out to me. I didn't answer and just continued moving my things. She walked around the corner and looked like she was about to approach me, but the look on my face stopped her. Honey, I'm so sorry. You weren't sorry last night, at least not until you found out I was there. It just means you're sorry I found out, nothing more. Henry, please. Please, what, Shelley? Lord, what do you want from me? You've slept with at least 2 other men, and who knows who else. There was no one else. And I don't believe you and probably never will again. We work different shifts, Shell, so how can I be sure what you're doing while I'm at work? Not to mention the empty rooms in the hospital. You've been doing this for months. Now I think you'll just be more careful. Darling, I promise I won't. What's the use of this, huh? You already made a promise, and it meant nothing. Can I explain, honey? Please. Okay, Shell, just because I'm curious how this all started. Come on, speak up. I dated Eddie in college. We enjoyed spending time with each other and sex was fun. We both understood that we had no future, so we became good friends and sex partners until the end of our studies. After graduation, he got a great job abroad, and I met you. And 10 years later, I love you more than ever. That's enough, Shell, okay? Words are worthless. Don't tell me about your love for me. But, okay. Anyway, about a year ago, he returned to the States, and a few months later, he found me on the internet. We corresponded for a while, and then he suggested we have dinner. With our charts, the only day that worked was one of your poker nights. And you thought it was normal? That's when Donna showed up. I didn't want to go to dinner with another man alone, so I took Donna with me. If Eddie was disappointed, he didn't show it and greeted her as warmly as he greeted me. We had dinner, and that was the end of it. That night. Well, yes, and since everything went well the first time, I agreed to repeat it. This time, Eddie brought with him Bruce, one of Donna's ex-boyfriends, whom he also knew. She was delighted to see him, as was I Eddie. We had a great time, and again, nothing happened. That night. Are you going to repeat this? Until I hear something that deserves another comment, yes. In general, we met a few more times just for dinner, but then the guys wanted to stay late, but we couldn't because of the children, so we started meeting at Donna's house, which is also Bill's house. Yes, it was mean on our part, but at that time it was still platonic. There was nothing going on other than meeting old friends, so being in the house didn't seem like anything special. I'm sure Bill wouldn't think so. I know, and you're right, but we didn't see it that way. It just became our regular meeting place. Donna would hire a nanny, and we would meet at her house. We did this a few times before things started to get closer. Is that what you call it? It all started as jokes and games. Then we started playing truth or dare, and some of the answers were explicit and a little sexual, and then the tasks started to get more risky. The guys would force Donna and I to kiss each other, or one of us to kiss one of them. And you didn't see where this was going. To be honest, no, well, not right away. Even when Bruce made me show my breasts, I still thought it was just fun. This is not the first time in my life. You didn't do this without me or alone with your ex-boyfriends, unless this is another secret of yours. No, honey, I promise. Anyway, one day, about 5 months ago, our assignments got a little crazy. We were feeling more comfortable, and when Eddie dared me to ask me to completely remove my top, rather than just lift it up, I did it. It didn't take long. Thinking, Donna did the same. Then they made us touch each other's breasts, and we both got so excited that when the guys started touching us, neither of us even thought to stop. It was the first time. We had sex with them. I might have been able to understand a one-time mistake. I wouldn't have liked it, and we'd have had to deal with it, But, but you kept doing it, damn it. I know, darling, I know. It was just. It was fun. We were having a good time, and I missed that feeling with him. It wasn't anything earth-shattering, and any emotions I had were rare. It was just something fun that we enjoyed together. So you slept with Bruce back in college? Or was that a reenactment of old times too? No, I've never been with Bruce. It was. Each of the guys wanted to try the other girl, and since it was just for fun, we agreed. With Bruce, it was no different than with Eddie. God, it's a pity that you didn't see this part. Do you really think it would make a difference? I don't think so. It just makes me feel even more. Well, you get the idea. Stop it. I know what you're thinking, but I didn't think so at the time. It wasn't until you walked in on us, and I saw how it hurt you and Bill, I realized what it really was. I'm so sorry, Henry. Me too, Shell. I'm really sorry. I just can't understand how you could do something so intimate with someone so calmly. It's like I don't mean anything to you. Please don't think that way, please. You mean everything to me. I can't explain it, not really. I can tell you what happened, but I can't explain how it happened, if that makes sense. He has, but that's the problem. You weren't in love with him. You didn't desire him. You just took off your clothes and let him have sex with you like it didn't mean anything. But to me, it meant that, Shelley, the fact that you could give it away so easily and without even knowing why, tells me that I don't mean much to you. I'm sorry, I really am, because I really love you, but it's over. No, honey, please, please, just. No, I hated raising my voice to her, so I softened my tone. No, Shelley, just no. I'm not going to keep guessing what you're doing or make a bunch of changes so you're never alone. I won't live like that. I want a wife I can trust unconditionally, and that's not you. The divorce was amicable, although not easy. Shelley kept trying to get me to stop and give us a chance, but I couldn't go down that road again. The truth was that what she did had seriously damaged my love for her, and I couldn't bring myself to try again. The division of property was simple. We lived in a small apartment and were saving for a house, so we just broke the lease and went our separate ways. We separated bank and investment accounts and so on. No one demanded child support, and we had no children. Everything was surgically precise. That's how one became two. About 4 months after that fateful night outside Donna's bedroom, when our divorce had been officially finalized for a month, I stopped at a bar on the way back from work to watch Monday Night Football. I didn't care about the teams, but I loved football, and it was something to do. The poker game was on hiatus because Bill was working on his marriage, and I saw poker as part of the reason Shelley cheated and didn't decide to go back. Hey, I never said it was rational. In the immortal words of Yogi Berra, it's deja vu all over again, as Heather sat down across from me at the table for two I'd chosen for myself. Hey, handsome. Good evening, Heather. How are you today? I'm fine. Wanted to apologize again for you and Shelley. Thank you. I appreciate it. On a date again today? Not really. Greg's at a conference for a couple of days, so I decided to go out, but without a date. What about you? Just stopped to get something to eat and watch the game. Then would you like some company today? I put the beer on the table and looked into her deep blue eyes. Whatever you think of her lifestyle, Heather is a stunningly beautiful woman. She has long blonde hair and medium-sized breasts, which she usually puts on display. Which company exactly do you mean? Exactly the one you're thinking about. What about your rule about not sleeping with Greg's friends? Well, that's more of a recommendation than a rule. Besides, you haven't been back since the night you saw me, so you're more of an acquaintance than a friend. I promise you won't be disappointed. I'm a great lover. If you say so. She simply smiled back. I was hesitant, not because I didn't want to sleep with Heather, but out of respect for Greg. She seemed to understand it from my face. She took my hands. Henry, I promise Greg won't care, and he'll never know you were with me. I never tell him names or details. He'll be back in 2 days, and I'll spoil the man I love. She seemed so sincere, and I never forgot that conversation with Greg. It was obvious that he didn't care as long as she was there when he wanted or needed her. Well, to hell with it, I thought. My apartment then? Should I follow you, or will you give me a ride back when this is all over? You're staying the night, Heather. Then I need a car in the morning. I'm coming to pick you up. The details of that night will remain between Heather and me, but I can say that we both took sick leave the next day, and she truly is an incredible lover. I needed to leave this city. Everything I saw around me reminded me of Shelley. I wasn't planning on moving permanently because all my friends lived here, but I needed to get away for a while. Unfortunately, I didn't have the money to just take and leave without a job. And then I remembered about the program that my company offered. Like most companies, we were constantly looking for more efficient ways of working, and the differences between our divisions meant that what was ideal in one location was not always effective in another. This led to the creation of a program that allowed employees to temporarily transfer to another department to learn their methods and adapt them to their department. These appointments lasted 6 months, perfect for what I needed. I applied, and within 2 weeks I was on my way to the other side of the country. My stay there was uneventful. Everyone was very kind, but knowing that I was a temporary employee, I tried to avoid creating anything more than just a friendly working relationship or short-term physical connections. Yes, I'm talking about one-off encounters during which I was extremely careful in terms of protection, which sometimes caused disappointment to my partner of the night. When I returned to my hometown, I did not advertise it. I just moved back into my apartment, thanked the guy who was renting it out, and went back to work. Apparently, the rumors spread quickly because 3 days after I returned, Warren called me. Hello, buddy. Welcome back. News travels quickly. Stevie saw you yesterday at Left Field and told everyone you were back. Left Field is a local sports bar that chose its name solely so that people could say that someone came out of nowhere. Sometimes it even worked. Yes, I plan to stay in the shadows for now. Looks like this is over. That's right. We're hosting poker nights again. Everything is according to the old schedule, so I'm waiting for you on Tuesday. Warren, I don't. If you don't come, I will find you and drag you, and you know that I can do this. He paused. Bill will be there too. Now I'm interested. The end of my marriage made me withdraw into myself, so I was unaware of the latest news. All I knew was that Bill and Donna were trying to work things out, while Shelley and I were getting divorced, and were still together when I left, but that was where my knowledge ended. How are they doing? Still together, but we don't know much about ourselves. You and Billy were both distant while you were recovering, so we'll find out together, I guess. Okay, I'll come. Tuesday came quickly, and although I had been dreading this day for the past few days, as it approached, I began to look forward to it. I think I was just craving some kind of normality, and hanging out with friends was a big part of it. Since no one was waiting for me at home, I ended up at Warren's house much earlier than I expected. I rang the doorbell and Maureen opened it, smiling widely when she saw me. She was wearing a large gray sweater and an ankle-length skirt. Henry, God, I'm so glad to see you. I walked in and she gave me a big hug, which wasn't easy considering she was petite and I was just over 6 feet tall. Hi, Mo, how are you? Not bad. Glad the games are starting again. I missed you. All of you. You came first. Warren hasn't returned from work yet. I couldn't find any other way to kill time. Need help with anything. I make sandwiches. Help won't hurt. We went to the kitchen where several types of bread and packages of meat were laid out. She gave me a small rubber spatula. Everyone likes mayonnaise, so spread it on every piece of bread. I usually do this assembly line style. I did as she said, and then moved on to cheese, then lettuce and tomatoes, and finally meat. I noticed that I really enjoyed this activity. Maureen is incredibly sweet and bubbly, and I haven't done anything social in a while. We chatted about trifles and laughed at literally everything. It was nice. And then Bill came, with Donna. Bill entered first, and we hugged in the usual manner, a handshake with a hug. I was glad to see him. And then Donna came in. I immediately felt irritated and seriously considered just leaving. But instead, I headed into the living room. After a minute, Bill spoke. "Is everything okay, buddy? I didn't expect to see her here. Sorry about that. Now I keep her close. It was the only way I could continue playing. But she wants to talk to you if you agree." "For what?" "Apologize. I know it won't change anything. You and Shelley got divorced anyway, and I wouldn't blame you if you told her to go to hell, but I'd appreciate it if you'd listen to her." I thought for a few seconds. I didn't want to hear what she had to say, but I decided to let her speak. "Okay, I'll listen, but only as a favor to you." He nodded, turned around, and left. About half a minute later, Donna slowly walked into the living room. Tears were already beginning to appear in her eyes. Donna was about 160 centimeters tall, slightly shorter than Shelley. As I mentioned, she was a little plump, but not thick at all. She stopped about a meter away from me. "Henry, how are you?" "It's okay, Donna. Divorced, but otherwise everything is fine. I... I just wanted to apologize for my role in what happened. I know Shelley told you how it all started, and it wasn't my initiative, but I still had to stop. At least for my own sake." "Why didn't you do this?" "At first everything seemed like nothing. Just a fun chat with old friends. It was fun and, yes, a little exciting. The truth was interesting and the tasks were fun. And the more we did this and remained undetected, the more confident we became that we would never be caught. We didn't even think that this could happen. It shouldn't have mattered, Donna. You shouldn't have done this at all." "I know, Henry, I know, and I'm terribly sorry for what happened to you and Shelley. You were so good together, I just..." She stopped to wipe away her tears and pull herself together. "I'm terribly sorry for what we did, and, well, I just wanted to apologize for everything I did. I'm so..." She burst into tears before she could finish speaking and turned to leave. Damn, I hate seeing a woman cry. I grabbed her hand, turned her back towards me, and hugged her. She stayed like that for several minutes until she pulled herself together. "Thank you, Henry. Sorry, it's just hard. How are you and Bill doing?" "Not bad, probably. It's only been a year, so. Mostly it gets better, but there are days that are worse than others. He doesn't trust me to stay out of his sight. I insisted that he start playing cards with you again. That's why I'm here. I think in time everything will be okay, but it will never be the same as it was. I miss this so much. He loves you, you know. That's why it hurt him so much, but that's why he's still around. I think it's more about the kids, but I believe he loves me. And Henry, please believe me when I say that I never stopped loving Bill, and Shelley never stopped loving you. It had nothing to do with it, no matter how hard it may be to believe." "It's really hard to believe, Donna. I don't think true love allows you to do something like that. Would Shelley believe that I loved her if I slept with an old girlfriend a couple times a month? Would you believe it? No, I probably wouldn't believe it, and I pray every day that I never have to go through this. Regardless, I'm determined to do whatever it takes to make this work. I know it's going to be hard, but I'm going to spend my whole life with him. My advice, Donna, just love him. Don't tiptoe around and worry about every little thing you say. He will still have bad days from time to time, but if you continue to act guilty, it will only remind him of what you did. Just remember that he loves you and wants to get through this too." "I will try. Thanks for listening. I know you didn't mean to." "You're right, I didn't want to, but I'm glad I did it. And be that as it may, I believe that you are sorry and will not do this again. It's a pity that you're not the one I need to convince of this. And Henry, I really hope that one day you can forgive me and we can be friends again. I know that it won't be the same as before either, but..." "Listen, Donna, your loyalty will always be with your sister, and I understand that. The truth is that this will probably always be between us, but hopefully we can come up with something that works. Thank you, Henry. I think that's the best I can hope for." That evening went well. Donna spent it helping Maureen look after the players, although she understandably focused most of her attention on her husband. For his part, Bill tried to express his gratitude to her. He later told me that one of the things Donna told him was that she felt like he was taking her for granted. It wasn't an excuse, but it made her more receptive to kind words from others. I really hoped they would make it work. That evening, I returned home feeling better than I had in a long time. I really enjoyed time with friends and wondered why I pulled away from them in the first place. I think I was just feeling sorry for myself, and the isolation helped me get through it without having to pretend in front of others. But I felt the same as before, and that told me I was on the road to recovery. I admit I was thinking about the time I spent with Maureen when I came back early again 2 weeks later. I knew Maureen for many years, although she was always Warren's little sister. We knew each other quite well, although I doubt I could pass the exam on this topic. Mostly I enjoyed our light conversation last time, and I wanted it again. I thought you were coming early again today. I just came straight from work. My apartment is a little out of the way, and there's no point in going there. And I thought it was because of my charm. This is just the icing on the cake, Mo. Can I help you again? Certainly. Come on in. Your punctuality coincided with the start of making sandwiches. I think you know what to do. She was wearing a long-sleeved sea-green knitted sweater and a pair of blue jeans. As I said, Maureen always dressed very modestly, but for some this only piqued their curiosity. It's not that I've never seen her in anything less. I've seen her in swimsuits a few times. She preferred one-piece swimsuits, usually in dark colors that emphasized her fair skin. In previous conversations, she mentioned that she had a figure like a girl. I played the game well and ended up being the main winner. After the game, Bill and Donna left quickly, and Steve and Matt stayed for a while, but also went home soon after. Steve had recently married his longtime girlfriend Cindy right before the whole Shelley and Donna thing. Some of us expected that he would not come to the games for a while, but Cindy insisted that he continue, and even came to us sometimes during the games. Matt, like Warren, never married, but unlike Warren, who was a bit of a ladies' man, Matt was quiet and shy. We sometimes wondered if he was gay, but he never gave us any reason to think so, and it was his own business, so we left it as it was. Warren said goodbye and went upstairs, and Maureen began cleaning. I looked at the mess and thought unpleasant things. Hey, Mo, is this always like this? What do you mean? Do you always clean up our messes by yourself? Almost always. And what? I'm sorry. This is terribly careless of us. For some reason, I thought Warren was staying to help you. Warren helps clean up? Come on. No, it's okay. I don't mind. But I'm against it, Mo. You are not our servant, and we are simply imposing this on you. You cook for us before the game and then clean up after. This is wrong, and I wish I had noticed it sooner. I started loading glasses into the dishwasher and packing up the leftovers. It's okay, Henry. You have a wife and work the next day. Plus, I like taking care of you guys, but I won't refuse help. We spent about 30 minutes cleaning the living room and dining room, including vacuuming. We started the dishwasher and looked around the rooms with satisfaction. Everything looked damn good. Like this. Mission accomplished. I think it's time for me to go home and go to bed. Maureen came up to me, wrapped her arms around my torso, and hugged me tightly. Thank you, Henry. I really appreciate it. I hugged her back and headed to my car. Maureen was such a kind person, and I was surprised she hadn't gotten married yet. She was about 25, 6 years younger than us. Maureen dated a guy in college, and Warren said they were serious. They broke up shortly after graduation, and as far as I know, she hasn't dated anyone seriously since. A week later, I received the first signal from Shelley. It was an email. I wasn't surprised that she decided to write. She didn't ask us to get back together. She simply apologized and asked how I was doing. I assumed she wanted to take things slowly, trying to build a friendship, with the long-term goal of getting me back. To be honest, I wasn't interested. I didn't see any problem in one day reaching a level where we could be polite and even friendly in a casual meeting, but no more. I did not respond to this letter. The next Tuesday came, and I went there again straight from work. This time Warren opened the door. I assumed Maureen was busy in the kitchen. Warren was watching the match and suggested that I take a beer from the refrigerator and sit down. Instead, I went into the kitchen where Maureen was hard at work. I came up behind her, covered her eyes with my hands, and she didn't even flinch. "My staff has finally arrived," she said. I removed my hands, and she turned around with a big smile. "Staff?" I asked. "Well, you understand," she smiled. "There's beer in the refrigerator if you want. You can take it and go watch the game with Warren. I see him enough already. I'd rather help you with the sandwiches." My answer brought another smile from her, and we got to work. Today, she was wearing a brown mid-calf skirt and a pink and brown short-sleeve floral blouse. I found myself admiring her slender, smooth calves, but then I concentrated on the task at hand. We worked side by side, and it seemed to me that she was deliberately initiating a little physical contact between us. But it was Warren's younger sister. I broke even this week and then stayed back to help Maureen with the cleaning. This time I decided not to rush home and talk to her. "Shelley tried to contact you, Henry," she asked. "She sent me a letter a week ago. I think she wants to restart something." I didn't answer. "Now that time has passed, is there a chance that you will get together again?" "None. I can never trust her again. I'm glad Bill and Donna are trying to make things work for the sake of the kids, but I don't want to live like this. I can't imagine having to drag my wife around everywhere just because I can't trust her." It was very difficult for them. I know it was Donna's fault, but I've known her for a long time, and it hurts me to see her suffer. "What about you, Mo? Is there someone special in your life?" "Only you all," she smiled. "That's why I love helping with your poker nights." "You had a boyfriend in college." Too curious if I ask what happened. "I don't really like talking about this, but okay, it's okay. I started dating Claude in my 3rd year. We got along so well that we soon spent all our time together." "Have you discussed the wedding?" "Oh, yes. Almost the entire last year, we thought about where we would get a job and all that. He hadn't proposed yet, but I thought he was just waiting for the right moment." "And what happened?" Her face turned red. "I was a virgin and was going to remain so until my wedding night. Claude pressed me a little. Not too much, but he made it clear that he wanted us to take it further." "Have you experimented?" "A little. We kissed a lot, touched each other. Well, you understand. A few times we even did it. Well, pleasure each other. He liked it, but he wasn't particularly keen on doing the same for me. But that was all, and as far as I knew, he was happy with everything. Apparently, it still didn't suit me. It seems not. After graduation, we moved in together, and I worked temporarily while I looked for something permanent. One day, I came home early because I was fired. I have a bad feeling. And you're right. I found him in our bed with some girl. In the midst of it. Did you say anything?" I screamed at him and called him all sorts of names. And he blamed me and said that if I satisfied him, he wouldn't have to do this to others. "With others? In the plural?" "Yes. He said he did this throughout his senior year. Just like that at parties. He said that he loved me and wanted to get married, but before the wedding he decided to satisfy his needs with other girls." "You didn't believe him?" "I moved out the next day, and a week later I was with my parents. He tried to convince me that it didn't mean anything and that he loved me, but I told him to leave. I haven't dated anyone seriously since then. I went on dates, but no one wanted to meet more than 3 times when they found out that I was not going to go to bed." "So you didn't, still a virgin?" "Yes. Although I broke a lot of toys, but technically, yes. God, I can't believe I told you this. You won't tell anyone, right?" "Of course, Mo. I will never betray your trust. I promise. I believe you. Thank you." I said goodbye and went home. It was nice to know that Maureen trusted me enough to share such personal things. Another letter from Shelley was waiting for me at home. In it, she wrote how sad she was that I did not respond to the previous one and begged me not to erase her from my life. I didn't answer again. Over the next 2 weeks, I received 3 more calls and 2 letters from Shelley. In all the messages, she apologized, said that she still loved me, and asked me to give our marriage another chance. I ignored them. We divorced, and I had no desire to return. In hindsight, ignoring her messages entirely may have been a mistake. Or maybe it was the perfect solution. It's up to you to decide. Another poker night has arrived. I arrived early and helped Maureen prepare sandwiches and snacks, as I had been doing for the past few weeks. Today, she was wearing a sleeveless blouse and a knee-length skirt. Very modest and feminine. She looked great. The game had been going on for several hours when the doorbell rang. It's unusual for someone to show up unannounced, but it's happened before. Maureen excused herself and went to open it. Donna, who continued to go to games with Bill, stayed with us in the kitchen. Suddenly, screams came from the living room. "No, you can't. You need to leave." This is from Maureen. For such a baby, she knew how to be loud. We got up from the table and slowly walked towards the scene of the altercation. "Please, Maureen, I just need to talk to him, but he doesn't answer my calls or emails." I recognized Shelley's voice immediately, even before she mentioned calls and letters. "Have you ever thought that maybe it's because he doesn't want to talk to you? You broke his heart once, and I won't let you do it again. Maureen, please give me just 5 minutes." "No, Shelley, you had a chance and you missed it. You had it, but you couldn't keep your legs together and you ruined everything. He's finally starting to come to his senses, and I will not let you hurt him again. He's mine now, and you will not get him back." Maureen slammed the door, and the rest of us stood there, completely stunned by what we had just seen and heard. We watched as Maureen stood there for a moment, trying to calm down, and then she turned around and saw us all standing there. "Oh God," she moaned, locking eyes with me, and then ran upstairs, presumably to her bedroom. While the others turned around and trudged back to the kitchen, Warren and I stood there, side by side, staring at the wall in front of us and processing what had just happened. "What was that just now?" I finally asked. Warren was silent for a moment. "Looks like my sister just claimed you." "Yeah, I heard that too." Pause. "And how do you feel about this?" "She could have done worse. But if you break her heart, I will kill you." I was almost sure he was serious. Mutual. Fine. This means we understand each other. I should probably go talk to her. Yes, I think that's how it should be. I went upstairs. I'd been here 1,000 times, so I knew where Mo's room was. I stopped and listened at the door, hearing muffled sobs. I knocked on the door. "Please go away," she said weakly. I tried turning the handle. The door was not locked, and I quietly entered. She looked up at me, wet with tears, with streaks running down her cheeks. "I can't do this." We just looked at each other for a few seconds. It was obvious that she was waiting for me to say something, and I was desperately trying to think of what it was. Finally, I decided not to ignore what happened and just move on to the next thing. "Listen, Mo, there's a plum festival in City Park this weekend. Do you want to go?" She looked at me as if she had no idea what I was talking about. "Plum festival?" "Yes, there will be a lot of plum stuff there. Pies, jams, canned food, and something else. I mean, if you're going to be my girlfriend, we need to spend time together more often, not just once every 2 weeks at the poker table." Her eyes widened a little and her words caught in her throat. I barely heard her. I want to be your girlfriend." I realized that after you attacked Shelley. "God, Henry, I'm so sorry. I just..." Mo, no need to apologize. We haven't even been on a date, and you're already more protective of our relationship than Shelley was when we were married. I liked it." "Is it true?" "Yes. But Henry, are you sure you can be with me?" "Why not?" "Shelley may have been a cheater, but at least she looked like a woman. She had hips, breasts, and a figure. And look at me. I'm built like an 11-year-old child. I have barely any breasts, hips that are almost as wide as my waist, and the smallest butt I've ever seen on a grown woman. Well, I don't do it, because it's the only thing that even hints at my 26 years. Oh, come on, I thought you were 25. My birthday was 3 weeks before you came back to town. Don't change the subject. So you're not. She finally smiled at me and even giggled a little. Well, you'll have to wait and find out for yourself, won't you? Yes, but it's definitely worth it. I extended my hand to her and she took it. I helped her get up, and then I hugged her and picked her up. She was very light, and this was the only way to get her up to my height. Hell, I'm over a foot taller than her. She wrapped her arms around my neck, and we gently touched our lips. It was not a stormy, passionate kiss, but a sweet, gentle one, as if we were just getting to know each other. I really liked it. I don't like plums. Maybe we can do something else. Whatever, honey, anything. We went downstairs holding hands and saw that the game had resumed with the four of us. Warren looked at us as we descended. We didn't know how long you would be gone, so we started without you. It's okay, I said, sitting down in my seat and Maureen settling into my lap. I wondered for a moment if the days of her taking care of us all were over. Well, if she takes care of me, that will be enough. Maureen and I dated for about 6 months before I proposed and got married another 6 months later. To be honest, I knew I wanted to marry her long before, but I consciously tried not to rush things. We were, as they say, two peas in one pod. Maureen was still a teenager when Shelley and I got married, and although I liked her, I never thought of her in that way until the divorce happened. I think we were better suited for each other than Shelley and I ever were, although that may just be selective memory. We decided that Maureen would remain a virgin until marriage, but that ended when she saw me naked for the first time. Of course, I'm not a sex star, but I have quite decent dignity. Maureen is tiny in every way. Every way. When she saw my manhood, she doubted whether she could even accommodate me inside her. Apparently, she had no such doubts with Claude. Isn't this a reason to increase self-esteem? But we still waited for some time. Within a couple of weeks, we began to show physical intimacy, but we satisfied ourselves exclusively with pleasure. I've always loved pleasuring a girl, and Maureen was a dedicated pleasure master. I was willing to wait until marriage, but she said she wouldn't marry until she was sure she could satisfy her husband and vice versa. Our first time, unfortunately, was far from romantic. Maureen spent some time preparing herself, gradually getting used to different degrees of intimacy, starting with small steps. This process took some time for her body to adjust and for her to feel comfortable. It was only after the birth of our first daughter, when her body underwent natural changes, that we were able to truly relax. That pregnancy also changed her shape slightly, giving her hips roundness and a new gracefulness. I loved her anyway, but was glad for the change. After 5 years of marriage, we have 2 daughters and are trying to have a third child. Maureen is not pregnant yet, but we are enjoying the process. Steve and Cindy just welcomed their 4th child. Cindy spent almost their entire life together, either pregnant or breastfeeding, and often both. Matt married a woman named Mary a few weeks ago. She is bold, with a tanned, toned body and bleached hair, and she adores Matt. You'd think such a dominant woman would overwhelm a quiet man like Matt, but she defers to him as often as she makes decisions, and I haven't seen her even hint at anything inappropriate since they started dating a year and a half ago. Years ago. Looks like Warren has finally been caught. In college, he was in love with a girl named Susie, but she left him, deciding to date other guys, as she was not ready for a serious relationship at that age. We always suspected that memories of her influenced his reluctance to get involved with anyone, even now that we are in our 30s. Guess who recently returned to town? She immediately found Warren, and they have been inseparable ever since. Like Warren, she has never married and says she recently realized she had been subconsciously comparing all her boyfriends to him. I think it was the same with him. I don't know if this will last, but so far everything looks good. Shelley tried to rekindle her relationship with her old boyfriend, but nothing came of it. First of all, there was no spark between them, just like before in college. And secondly, because Shelley and Donna were very close, and Bill categorically forbade Donna to be around Shelley while she was dating Eddie. Donna also slept with him, and this was absolutely unacceptable for Bill. So that was the end of it. Last I heard, she was dating a coworker, and they were looking forward to it. Bill and Donna are still together, and their relationship has improved. Donna still comes to the poker games, although they are now once a month. Since having kids in our group, we've given up one of the poker nights and started spending more time together on the weekends. While things are still not the same as they used to be and probably never will be, they have returned to some intimacy and private moments. It's not perfect, but it looks like they'll make it work. End. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click